Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Gone Kayaking with me, Clayton.
And me, Darren.
As usual, I didn't take part in this one, but that's pretty much normal practice now. It was Darren and Duncan Fawkes, and this trip was a little bit different. Keyhaven, round the Needles, along the south coast of the island. Freshwater Bay was where you pulled in, and then you went overland. Incredible, to the top of the Yarmouth River and to the River Yar, I guess as it's known, and then you got into the River Yar and then went all the way back to Keyhaven. Incredible. So tell us all about it. Hurry up.
It was a chance to do something different. We've talked about this one for a while, so we figured sod it while ago. But the main pinch point really for this was getting the river with water at the top end. If we get there and it's dry, then we're a bit up the creek, as they say.
Yeah, up the creek with your paddle, but that still wouldn't help, would it?
No, not at all.
Weather-wise, what was the aim? I mean, it looks okay. Doesn't look too bad. What was happening with the wind and the tide?
Yeah, it was a little bit of wind, but it wasn't too serious. Tide-wise, though, we were aiming for the high tide when we got to the top of the river, which meant we were actually going against the tide out of Keyhaven to the Needles, and then against the lighter flow tide along the south coast of the island. So we actually got to the top of the river while there was still plenty of water to get in and float.
That's Hurst Castle. Now that's had a little bit of a few issues, hasn't it?
It's had some issues. You can see here they've built the breakwater around it. It's starting to look quite good. We were hugging the coast at this point because there's a bit of an eddy, so we're going against the tide, but the eddy comes in around the castle, and so we followed it as close as we could to actually take advantage of that until it ran out, and then we had to punch the tide from there on.
Fascinating history of Hurst Castle. I'm not sure whether we've mentioned it previously, but it certainly was something that we have focused on before, particularly when it fell apart, and you can see that in some previous videos, so please do check those out. So Duncan, level of kayaker?
He's pretty proficient. I don't know if he's actually got a level as such. I'm not even sure I have, but yeah, we stay in it.
Yeah, but it's still above my level, both of you. Yeah, that's the main part. Yeah, we stay in and not worried by the big swells.
Yeah, this was now, we've run out of eddy, so we're breaking out now across the channel.
And it looks like a nice shiny boat that Duncan's got. What is it?
It's a Preon Kayak.
Ooh, sounds nice. What's the difference between the Preon Kayak and your nice blue Valkyrie?
The Preons have quite an interesting design underneath. They have sort of three hard chines, which makes them quite fast for their size and shape, but they don't feel as rock solid and stable.
Sorry, I'm putting my hand up. What's a chine?
You've got three flat sections. It's a very distinctive shape on the Preons. I've not seen it on any other type.
And as you say then, so that allows you to go a little bit quicker.
It means really, I guess, from the water's point of view, you've got a small kayak in the middle while you've actually got a wider bit of kayak above the water. But it makes it feel a little bit more wobbly than the Valkyrie does, where you've got a big wide flat bottom. So.
Yes. Yeah. I have a wide flat bottom by the time I finished kayaking with you guys, that's for sure. So that was whereabouts are you now? You're getting across to the Needles, aren't we, at this moment, by the looks of things?
Yep, still in the channel. It took quite a while because we were going against the tide, so it was quite a long slog across the channel here. You can see little effects of a tide race as we go.
And just to kind of give a little bit of perspective, if you had the tide with you, going from Hurst Castle to the Needles would take about how long normally?
Maybe 20 minutes or so.
Right, and this occasion it's probably double that?
Easily, yeah.
So it's important to note for those of you that you think, I can just get in and go for a paddle. You can, but you could end up getting in a bit of trouble if you don't get your tides right.
Yes, yeah, you've got to get it right. At least know what to expect.
Which is like these things as well.
What has this guy had his missus on the back? She didn't look happy.
I want to get off. What, love? Can't hear you. This is great, isn't it? Yeah.
I think he compressed her spine by the time she got there.
Oh dear. Now the petrol heads have gone, and then time to. I never cease to enjoy the Needles every time we come and look at them. You think, I've seen them once, but they're just something to behold, aren't they?
Yeah, it never gets old. It's different every time, of course, with the water conditions and the weather, etc. So it always looks pretty cool.
And as well, along here, there's some really, really shallow parts, aren't there?
There are. A lot of this dries out at times. We're here now very close to the high slack tide. But yeah, at low slack tide, there's a few rocks will be poking through here. There's a shipwreck just off the lighthouse that at the right tide will poke through.
That's a spectacular view. These cameras, I have to say, these 360 Insta360 cameras are just spectacular. If you're thinking about, right, I want to go and do this kind of thing, or I want a camera to use, and we traditionally use GoPros and versions of in the past, but these Insta360s, they're game changers, aren't they?
Definitely, yeah, it's been a huge difference. You miss so much with a single fixed camera.
Yeah, the 360, for those of you, if you're thinking, oh, what is it? It's an Insta360, and like it says, it gives you a 360 view, so we can maneuver it how we want and make it look as if there's multiple cameras that we've got on the boat.
And you can see the Spitfire with it following it round. The second Spitfire.
Oh, we got another one! Here it comes. Fantastic. There is a previous video you can see with the Spitfire, and that was something, but this one again decided to make another appearance.
Yeah, they do a tourist flight apparently. It's a 2-seat converted one, so they take you for a quick spin around the island.
Ooh, now that sounds exciting and terrifying at the same time, and probably expensive.
I don't think it's cheap, but yeah, I'd have a go.
Yeah, that might be. Might have to do that for your 50th. Maybe I'll get to Rosser on the case. So through the Needles and now down along the south coast of the island. And at what point now? So having fought the tide with you now?
The tide turned about at the Needles, so it's against us again here. But what you tend to find,
unlucky.
You're just jealous. But it's not so strong this side of the island, so it's not really noticeable.
There are so many different weather conditions to take into account, even on a day like this, isn't there? When you're coming around and you're being hit by various different tides and what the wind's doing, etc.
Yep, you'll see a little bit as we got close to Freshwater here. For some reason, someone must have been annoyed upstairs, and we got a good dose of wind, and the clouds came in really quickly.
Look at that though, in the sea, the water, it's crystal clear, isn't it? I mean, you could be somewhere really exotic when you see this kind of footage.
Oh, it's very exotic on the Isle of Wight.
Of course it is. No disrespect to all of you watching on the Isle of Wight, it's very exotic. But lots of fascinating quirks around the island, and one of them you're coming up to now. Tell us a bit about that.
We're coming up to Wacom Bay. So in Wacom Bay there's actually a tunnel, which you'll see briefly on the video as it comes out. Used to go up to the top of the cliff. When I was a small lad, we used to go and play around there and get told off. And the actual, Smuggler's Cave, used way back in the 1800s to import goods you couldn't get, and mostly from France. So literally rowing over, coming back, taking it up the tunnel, and apparently there was a barn or something on the top which hid it. Well, that's the one. You can just see a little hole in the cliff there in the middle of the bay. And there's also the caves off to the left.
It's quite incredible, really, isn't it? Yeah, you'd have to know it was there, I suppose. It doesn't look that easily accessible either, is it?
It's not. It doesn't go right through now. Way back, I guess in the 80s, I used to play around there, and you could get up to the top of the cliff. But now it only goes about halfway up, and it's being filled in from above. And
there are some of the along the south coast, as you've just gone along. There are bays that are only accessible from the water. You can't get there from the land.
Well, Wacom Bay is one of those now.
Yeah.
So you can walk around at low tide, but you'll still get wet.
Beep, beep, beep. Reversing.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. I'm going to get everyone out of the way. Move off the beach.
Look at that. Textbook. What's happened with your paddle, sir? Isn't that... Oh, you're on the ground now. It's okay.
Yeah, try not to follow your example.
Exactly. If Zoran's watching, you can do that, Zoran. It's fine. Oh, look at that. Duncan catches the wave in. That's perfection.
Yeah, his boat's pre-scratched. I'm still trying to be nicer to mine.
So this now is the next part of the journey, which is a little stroll. It's almost like a bit of a... I don't know. It's like a triathlon, I guess, with boats, though, isn't it? I guess, or a version of. We're going to paddle, and then we're going to walk, or not run, and then paddle again.
Yeah,
nice.
Thankfully, not running.
Now, how long did it take? So it was about a mile, you said?
It's only about a mile, so we were off the water for, I guess, 1 hour, including a quick lunch stop here at the river.
Right. What was your lunch? Chips?
It's a box of muesli bars.
Oh, healthy. Excellent. And now this is the River Yar, correct?
This is the top end of the River Yar, at the causeway.
For all those people like Cowswick, Yar.
Oh, yeah.
Now, even though it's a river, I presume is it seawater or freshwater?
This is seawater this side of the road. So it's very tidal, which is why the timing was quite critical. So you could see the water came right up to where we launched. If we'd been there another hour or so later, it would have just been a sea of mud.
Nice to see a few sup people.
You had to do that.
I did, didn't I? Stand-up paddleboarders. Love them.
This is my new house. Oh no, it's not.
I imagine there are some wonderful properties along all of these coastlines, and particularly as well, these ones are probably pretty safe, but the ones you see along the Jurassic Coast, the ones we see over Milford and what have you, just think, crikey, it's not going to be long before they'll be worthless.
There's a bit of erosion going on some of those. Yeah, this one seems fairly safe. It's quite low to the water, but I don't think you're going to get a tidal wave up the River Yar.
Whereabouts are we now?
This is now in Yarmouth and just about to head out of the river. As you can see, clouds closing in a little bit.
Looks a little bit ominous.
Yeah. So in terms of tide timings now, we've now got to, it's probably about the full sort of 3-hour flow, so it's going at its fastest. It was a spring tide as well, so it was quite lively on the way back.
Going with you or against you again?
This was now wind and tide together.
Okay.
But quite a lot of the tide going on.
And
so you can see the buoy there behind as it slides behind the boat as we're getting dragged off to the side.
And speed-wise, what were you able to get up to?
I forget proper numbers, but
quite quick.
Yeah, well, with the tide, this guy wasn't watching at all. He was going to drive straight over us, so that was nice.
Of course he was.
He managed to wake up in time, which was good.
For those of you wondering who has right of way on the sea, the answer is...
We should have there.
In other words, if you need a translation, we should have there. Oh my gosh! That's like an episode of Hot Fuzz. Where's your room, sir?
We were coming from his starboard side, so yeah, we should have had right of way there. But there's always the debate then as well whether a kayak is a powered vessel or not.
Right. Well, yes. Depends what kind of power you're thinking. Farts don't really help. They're not going to get you that much propulsion. They'll just keep your cockpit warm.
But that said, I think if you go into the letter of the rules of the road, they talk about powered by machinery, so we're not.
Quick question. Paddling with Duncan, how much easier is it for you than having to paddle with a joker like me?
Well, we're both just sort of cracking on with the job, I guess. We've got the deadlines and points that we're aiming for. We just do that. I'm not looking over my shoulder to see who's still upright.
Yeah. See whether or not we've just... Me and Dave are just like poddling along like a couple of kids, suddenly distracted. Ooh, look, there's something over there.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing then as well, we know where we need to be and how to get there, etc. So we're not looking at details like what's the swell going to do when we poke our heads around the corner here, etc. Will it be too rough and should we just come up with a plan B, turn back, which we did on the Needles one when we saw the first Spitfire. It was going to be too rough to get out beyond the Needles, so we just turned around and came back in.
All in all, very good trip. Very happy with it.
Yeah, it was good. It was different, interesting.
And now let's have a look at the stats. Darren?
We did about 4 hours paddling and about another hour that we were overland and having a quick lunch stop, and it was about 25 k's all up.
Not a bad effort really, and burned plenty of calories in the process and also looked pretty cool doing it. Well, that just about wraps up this edition of Gone Kayaking. We hope you've enjoyed the video. Please feel free to like, share and subscribe, and also check out all of our other videos, plus there will be more to come. But until then, from myself, Clayton,
and me, Darren,
please have fun on the water, but stay safe.